All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. It is Friday night live in Huntington, and glad to be here. The weather is bizarre today. It rained. It rained a little bit more, then it rained some more, and then the sun came out and dried up all the rain. It sounds like a song or a poem.
Yeah.
Something about a spider. I'm not quite sure. But it is beautiful out there now. It is beautiful here. We are, believe it or not, it's the fourth Shabbos of Pride. There are 5 Shabboses of Pride this year. All right, so I guess we get an extra week because we've all been very good. And so, but this evening we have a special speaker. Next week we have a special speaker. This week we have an oneg. Next week we have an oneg. I'm telling you, I couldn't be happier if Dennis were twins. But it's a beautiful evening here. And so let's begin. We have Sam and James, and they're going to bench lift for us this evening. And don't bother to look for in your books because they have a special Pride blessing for lighting the candles. That is instead of that's the thing that we're going to do.
Okay, excellent. Make a double shirt. This is a prayer before candle lighting, a blessing of gratitude for a life lived with friends, family, partners of many genders and sexual orientations. Creator of light, source of wisdom, you know the depth of the human soul. You fill this world with a glance of your presence. So let me fill my world with the calm wisdom that does not ask why, but instead ask whom. May we, as we watch the 2 flames of memory and practice enlighten this space, remember all parts of our stories and make space for all that we are. Creator of light, source of wisdom, may your light fill every inch of our bodies and may exceed all forms. Okay, cool. Sorry.
Let's say the blessings.
Don't you? It just feels funny. And Shabbat Shalom.
Blessings.
Oh,
And
you
congratulations.
say the blessing.
Oh yeah. I'm
Oh, I thought you said instead of. I'm sorry.
No, the blessings there as
All
well.
right, very good. I thought it felt weird. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat
You did it.
You spend all this time away and then you forget.
You meant instead.
You got an A+ for that.
Thank you.
Dennis is an easy grader.
I'm grateful.
Page 9, let's have a responsive reading. Page 9 at the top. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain.
On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire or to share.
There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted.
On
Shabbat, we stand and wonder before the mystery of creation.
There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others.
On Shabbat, remember that justice is our duty and a bitter word of hope.
So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace.
Amen.
All right, let's continue to welcome Shabbat in song. And actually, page 20, Lecha Dodi, comes to us from the mystical city of Sfat. Sfat was really not much of a place until after 1492, with the expulsion of the Jews from Spain. Many of them landed in the Galil, in the area of Sfat, and a number of our most famous Mekubalim, or Kabbalists, were in Sfat. And this comes to us from Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, and it was his way of welcoming the Shabbos bride. Top of page 20, Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, v'hishmi'anu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shmo echad, L'shem Tiferet V'li Tila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'nelcha, Ki Mikor HaBracha, Merosh Mikedem Nehesucha, Sof Ma'aseh B'machshat Tchila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Mikdah Hashmelech Yemelucha, Kumiti Mitoch Hafecha, Rav Lahak Shevet B'yemecha B'cha, V'hu Yachamol Alai Chemla, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Hitna Ari Me'afar Kumi, Lishibi Deiti Farte Chami, Al Yad Ben Ishai Beit HaLachmi, Korva El Nafshi Gehala, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Hitorari, Hitorari, Kihiva Orek Kumi Ori, Ori, Shirda Beri, Kivod Adonai Alaif Nigla, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Lo Tevoshi, V'lo Tikomi, Mahatish Tochachi Matehemi, Bachyechesu, Aniyehe Ami, B'nihiv Nitayir Altila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, V'hayu L'shimsa Shalosayich, V'rahachakuhu Kol Mevalayich, Yasis Alayich Elohayich, Ki Himsoscha Hatan Al Kala, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Yamin U'Smol Tifrotzi, V'et Adonai Taharitzi, Al Yadish Ben Partzi, V'nihi Smecha V'nagila, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela, Oiv Shalom Ateret Bala, Gam B'Simcha U'Sola, Toch Emunei Am Segula, Boi Chala, Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Nekabela. Let's turn to page 22. Some verses from Psalm 92, which is the Psalm for Shabbat. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai! How very subtle your designs! A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadik Tamar Yifrach, Erez Balvanon Yiskeh Shetuli B'Beit Adonai B'chatzrot Eloheinu Yahafrichu O Jenu L'Seva L'Shenim B'Ra'ananim Yiyu L'Hayid Ki Ashar Adonai Suhu Achlata Bo. Let's conclude Kabbalat Shabbat. Let's conclude receiving Shabbat or welcoming Shabbat on page 24 as we welcome the two angels that our tradition tells us come to spend Shabbat with us. Shalom Aleichem, top of 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have welcome Shabbat, and the Shabbat Queen or the Shabbat Bride is here with us. But we're going to jump ahead and conclude and begin the Aravit service, the evening service for Shabbat, page 146, Baruch Hu. We'll ask everyone to rise, please. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vayed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vayed. Let's read together on page 147, the paragraphs at the bottom of the page. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your power and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish, but your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding word. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Page 148, the second blessing before Shema. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shofteinu v'kumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'v'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu V'yorech yameinu V'yorech yameinu Uvahem nehegeh Yomam v'layla Yomam v'layla Ve'ahavat techal tasir mimenu Le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha B'chol afcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele Asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al babecha Vishinantam levanecha V'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'beitecha ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Page 151. Let's read responsively in the middle. We worship the power that unites the universe, a prominence of harmony for all.
Yet their oneness eludes our grasp, as imperfection is evil bound.
Before our eyes is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness.
There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul.
When will redemption come?
We're again
One pray for ourselves.
Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High.
We learned about the presence of these times and events,
So we celebrate the power of connection for freedom.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nohora tehilot, v'hosei feheleh, malchutecha ra'u banecha, bokeyam lifnei Moshe, zeli anu v'yamru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, u'ga'alo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch atah Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Top of page 153, Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Let's read together in the English at the bottom of the page. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft, evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 154, Vishamru, verses from the book of Exodus, and it's not Shabbat without Vishamru. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית העולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. La'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Please rise for the Amidah, the central prayer of the evening service. Pages 155, 156, and 157 we'll chant together, and then we'll go silent through the end. And during that period, you can read, complete the Amidah in the Hebrew, in the English translation, or offer up your own meditative prayer. Let's begin together on 155. Adonai sifatai tiftach, uviagi tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach, uviagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor, Hagara, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hatzot, Vezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Goelim Nebneihem, Leman Shemo V'Nahama, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Gibor Elohim Adonai, Mechayim Eitim Atarav L'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayim Eitim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim B'Rofei Koholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emnato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Magiburu, Umidol Mehelach, Melech Mimid Umechayim, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Neman Atah L'Chayim Mitim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Ametim. Let's continue together in the middle of page 160. 160, let's read together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. A little bit of thanksgiving, top of 163. Let's read responsively, top of 163. For the good in us which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
For the strength to improve the world, our hearts, our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
For life and nature, harmony and beauty, for the hope of tomorrow, all praise to the source of being.
And let's close out our Amidah with a prayer for peace. In the evening, it is Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Me'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Me'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rahav Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people, Israel, with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Amivorech atah mo Yisrael, Vashalom. We'll jump ahead to page 253 for one of the multiple prayers of healing in our tradition. This one is the Mishaberach, and it is found in the middle of page 253. Mishaberach Avoteinu Mekor Abraha Leimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imoteinu Mekor Abraha La'avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Let's turn to the prayers of our community, pages 258 and 259. And Hoyt, as our president, how about the prayer for our congregation?
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levacha b'yirah na'avod. Maury, how about the prayer for our country?
O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit.
Amen.
Amen. Shalu Shalom Yerushalayim, Yishlayu Obayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Max.
Adin Shbashmaim, Israel Begolo, Baruch et Medina Israel, Reshit Tzmichat Gulatinu Vagin Alecha Bebrechaspecha, Ufres Alecha Zukat Shlomecha Ushla Urcha Vagitacha Le'ashecha, Sarecha V'yoetzecha, V'tachnein Beitza Tova Bofanecha, V'nachata Shalom Ba'aretz V'simcha, Olam U'yoshbecha V'namar Amen.
Amen. Dennis, how about the English version of that?
Who's that?
The English version, 259. The prayer for Israel.
Got it. Right here. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love and spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guarding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. This week's Torah portion is a whiz banger. It is Korach, and this is one of the great miracles in the Bible. That why did it only happen then? Why can't it happen today? And you'll see why I asked this question. Korach is the great grandson of Levi, right? One of the original members of the tribes. And so he, along with Datan and Abiram, and another person named On, they stage a rebellion. They question the leadership of Moshe and Aharon. And what's interesting is that Korach, he's all about the public accusations, but he has absolutely zero solutions. He says to Moshe, "You've gone too far. All the people are holy." And then the people get stirred up because they see that Korach is off and running, and the people start yelling, "You brought us out of a land of milk and honey. Why are we in this desert to die?" And so this is all done very publicly. Moshe is tremendously embarrassed by Korach, and Moshe calls for a meeting the next morning in front of the Mishkan, in front of the sanctuary. And he says to Korach and his merry band of malcontents, "Bring your fire pans with incense, and God will demonstrate who is to be trusted as the leader." Now, Korach has been part of the community since the beginning, so he knows that Moshe and Aharon did not simply assume the leadership. God placed them in the leadership. But Korach didn't want that. Korach wanted a much more democratic society, but he offers nothing other than to complain. All he does is yell and moan and groan, and that's it. So they're going to have this big meeting, and the community starts to side with Korach. Right? It doesn't take much to get a community stirred up. One or two loud voices, and the best people can be tarred and feathered. So God tells Moshe and Aharon, draw away from the entire community because I'm going to destroy it. Sounds similar to what happened last week. This week, again, Moshe pleads on behalf of the people and says to God, look, if you destroy them, it's not going to look bad for us all. So God tells Moshe to have all of Bnei Yisrael step back away from Korach and his tents. Right? So imagine this. This is one of those movies, almost like a comedic scene, right? There's a guy ranting, and then all of a sudden, everybody who's behind him takes 3 steps back because you know something bad is going to happen, right? And this is the miracle that I wish would happen more often than it did. It only happened once. The earth opens up its mouth and swallows Korach and his merry band of malcontents. Datan, Abiram, their families, and 250 followers. They were busy popping off, and so the earth opened its mouth and showed what it could do with its mouth and swallowed them all up. The people the next day accused Moshe of bringing death upon the community. It's like Moshe caused them to, say those horrible things and for the earth to open up. God wants to destroy Israel again. Instead, a plague breaks out. Aharon puts his fire pan on the altar, and the plague stops with 14,700 dead. Moshe is told to collect the staffs of all of the tribal leaders, and he puts them inside the Mishkan. And the next morning, all the staffs are the same except Aharon's. His had sprouted blossom overnight and almonds as a sign of God's favor. So his staff is put in the sanctuary as a reminder of who the leaders are, not because they've assumed the leadership, but God wants them to be there. The Torah ends on a positive note, I would imagine. The Kohanim are to oversee the ritual. The Levites are to be the helpers. They are not to touch the altar or the instruments. And all of the tithes that we give to the sanctuary go to the Leviim, because they themselves will not inherit any land when they go to when they conquer it. There are 9 mitzvot this week, 5 do's and 4 don'ts. And I would imagine that the biggest one is if you're only part of the problem and not the solution, keep your mouth shut. That's not there, but that should be. That's what Korach learned. Shabbat shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
All right, we have a special guest speaker this evening. You know him, you love him. He's been part of the congregational family for 15 years. 15 years, he and his partner, and partner James. But this evening I've asked Sam Kincaid, we know him as just Sam, previous president, not the immediate past president, but the immediate past president. He was president when I got here and COVID got here. So he did not have necessarily an easy presidency, but he has been pretty much a lifelong West Virginian.
Yeah.
Right. And so I asked him to talk a little bit. Last year when we had Pride, I invited community members who were working within the gay and lesbian, bisexual, trans plus community to come in and talk a little bit about what they did. Not necessarily, I don't think any of them were Jewish. This year, I'm asking people who are gay and lesbian within our community to come up and talk a little bit about their lives. And so I'm going to have Sam come up and tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up as Sam in West Virginia.
That wacky Sam.
And then James will have a 10-minute rebuttal.
Sam is Sam.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's sorry. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat
Glad
shalom.
to see everybody tonight. I didn't write anything down. When the rabbi asked me to do this, I thought about it because I'm pretty good. Like, well, Kelly will know, and Lloyd, you'll soon know when you have to do the Rosh Hashanah message. I wrote my first Rosh Hashanah address was written in 10 minutes the evening of, or the day before, because I do it in the morning. Because I'm just good like that, it kind of like writing things up. But this was going to be too long, so I didn't write it down. And I'm just going to go over what it was like for me, Sam, born in 1967 in Beckley, West Virginia, where I spent my first 18 years. And then I came to Huntington for college in 1985, and I've been here for 38 years. So, we'll be going to see my father tomorrow, and that doesn't feel like home. Beckley doesn't feel like home anymore. Huntington feels like home. After, I've been here twice as long as I lived in West Virginia. So I've lived in Beckley. So anyway, growing up in Beckley, everybody's pretty familiar with Beckley. It's a small town in the southern part of the state, about 45 minutes away from the Virginia border. And I came of age finding about my sexuality probably about 11 or 12, probably about the same time any heterosexual kid would have said, hey, you know, gosh, she's pretty. I was thinking, hey, what? He's cute. And, you know, and at first I truly thought that it would go away. I wasn't upset. I just thought, I don't think other boys think this about boys, but I'm sure as I get older, it'll wear off. I'll grow out of it and I'll find a wife someday. And and as I grew older, I realized this just when just before I came of age, Ronald Reagan, just after I came of age, Ronald Reagan took office, okay, in January of 1981. And as you probably all know, a wave came over the country, okay? It was a new form of conservatism that was backed by the religious right. Now, of course, there's always been religious influence in our country's laws, but it was only after Reagan that I can prove this to myself, but going back and look at archives in 2020 and NBC News, that's when the conservative wave really started across this country in a big fashion. And right behind that was the moral majority and Pat Robertson, who recently departed. And, you know, evangelical television leaders, speakers, Anita Bryant, lest we forget. And there was this big backlash, but I could see, I remember the exact moment I was looking at gay people on television and realized, oh my God, that's me. I'm not going to grow out of this. Still, I wasn't that upset. It was not like any of the school was going to send a letter to my mother saying, your son's gay. So I still didn't get upset about it. But then, summer of 1982, Rabbi will know, June, just before July 4th, 1982, a small article appears in the New York Times, and it's picked up from the wire service from Los Angeles, or from the UPI, who has information about New York and Los Angeles, and they just run it. And it's this article about this big, you can find on the Times Machine and the New York Times website, or probably on a website for free. I just have to describe it to the New York Times. An article about this big, talking about this mysterious ailment affecting young gay men.
Gay cancer.
Gay cancer is what it started out grid. And that was, you know, that was the tidal wave that came with it. Suddenly, with this new turn towards conservatism and the moral majority, so to speak, and the right, that was God's punishment. Everybody was afraid. They didn't know how it was communicated to other people, where it came from, what caused it, but it was square on the heads of the gay community. So as I was just after that article came out, which still didn't hit national media, I think, until that fall. No, I think a year after that, it was in the national media. You know, I was starting to see gay men and women, especially men, represented in the mainstream media. Do you know who they were? AIDS victims. That's who they were to the country. Gay means AIDS. So God's wrath from the evangelical people on television, the guy on the Christian Broadcasting Network, I think was Pat Robertson. That's what's filling my ears. You know, how do we protect ourselves against the disease that these people brought upon themselves and they're about to bring onto us? What are we going to do? I remember standing on the lunch line one day and hearing somebody say, say to another person, I don't think I'll ever take a bath in a hotel again. And she was speaking, of course, of HIV. Okay. Then, a year or two later, we had a blood drive at my high school. And this is just when the CDC had, it was that French doctor, the immunologist, but they came up with the first test to detect the HIV antibody. Okay. Well, that meant that the Red Cross and the CDC were not taking donations from gay people anymore. And not only that, they were doing tests on they did a sample test on every bag of blood they took to test for HIV. Some kid told me, "Are you going to give blood today?" And I said, "I don't know. I didn't, you know." He said, "They have a blood test now that can tell if you're gay." Okay, so that tells you where things were going by that time. So, it was really demoralizing, not just for me. I mean, grown men, wonderful grown men who contributed so much to this country were dying, starting off in little pockets, and then by the dozens, and then by the hundreds. I remember the day it hit 500,000 dead, and that wasn't very long after July of 1982. I remember 50,000, I remember 500,000. So you go to school with the jokes, I didn't tell anybody. It was the 1980s. I didn't tell a soul I was gay. No way was that going to happen. But I was lucky enough to have people around me who decided I was gay because I didn't fit their vision of male masculinity. I don't know, is that kind of repeating myself? No, it's just the same. Of what male masculinity should be. So they decided I was gay because I didn't like to play baseball. Couldn't play baseball. Couldn't play basketball. I had this, we'll get to that in a minute. And because I didn't fit the kind of boy they thought I should be, I was automatically gay. Okay, and to this day, if I met one of those people and they said, "Ha, I knew you were gay," I would look them straight in the eye and say, "The hell you did. All you knew is I didn't fit what you thought I should be." And then you go to in entertainment and popular culture, and that's like my own experience. I'd go to the movies with some friends on Friday night, and who did I see one night but Eddie Murphy in his concert movie? I forget the title of it. It doesn't matter. You can look it up. Huh? Raw. Eddie Murphy, Raw. Concert movie, R-rated. Wish I'd listened to my mother. But I go in there and they're AIDS jokes. And he's making fun of gay protesters who are taking umbrage with the way he talks about homosexuals. So what does he do? He does a whole sketch being one of these gay spies watching him at the airport with his stereotypical list. "Oh, God, yes, girl, he's there. There's that man, Eddie Murphy." So on Monday morning, I go to school, I go to gym class, and guess what routine they're doing in the locker room? So, and I cannot be, the rabbi and I are only a month apart in age.
But you're older.
He had to say that.
I do. I have to maintain my integrity.
And so I'm sure he can tell you all these things, and your gay friends it can. But, it's the sort of things that, all the things I took comfort in. It just felt like a small fix to when I'd have to go to school the next day. One day walking home to the school bus, our school bus stop was half a mile from the house. Beckley's not what I would call a rural town, but our neighborhood was a subdivision with not a lot of room for a school bus to go around. So we walked a half a mile to a church parking lot. And on the way back one fall day in the 7th grade, one of the guys who thought I wasn't masculine enough stuck my lips to the top of my braces for me with his fist. Another day, we're walking that same route, and one of his friends from across the road beams me in the side of the head with a rock about this big. And another time, James says this story, the guy who said I'm so ugly, I won't say what he said at Shabbat. He said I was ugly. And, he just, I said, "Why are you?" He said, so he told me I was ugly. And I said, "Why are you treating me? I've never done anything to you. I barely know you." And he said, "Number one, you're ugly. And number one, because you're not big." Okay? This is not poor, pitiful me. There were lots of good times in my life. When you grow up like that, you have a small circle of friends, but by God, they're tight. And nobody in that group told anybody they were gay. We was nerds, thought we were nerds. We knew why people didn't like us. But that's where you find, I know now I didn't have to do this. I'd like to have grown up in a larger city, but I'm not the type of person, James can tell you, who would just move to Los Angeles or New York. I'd be lost. I'd love to visit. I can't live there. But these kids who were tossed out of their homes, I was not. Okay. But people I know now who were tossed out of their homes, rejected by their families, and they're the people who say, the best family is chosen family. And I know now why they believe that. Because it's the micro, I mean, I was the micro version of those 12-year-old or 13-year-old friends, but these people had to go out in the real world without any support, without any love, and they did have to make their own families. And I'm sure it comes from that feeling of security that you get with a small group of friends when you're young. No matter why you're being bullied. Doesn't have to be your sexuality, your gender, any reason you're being bullied. And so, we go through the rest of the AIDS crisis as it continued on decades and decades and decades. And I come to Marshall and I find out, yes, there are indeed gay people in Huntington, West Virginia. And I made my first openly gay friends. And I had new experiences. They took me places, we went places. I met James when I came to Marshall, my rock. And it's one of those wonderful things when you go out in the world and you do meet other people who are gay, and one of them becomes your husband. But as the years went by, after I met gay people, met James, started dating James, things started to slowly get better for the gay community, or the LGBTQIA community. Gradually, bills were passed, laws were rescinded, rights were given, and suddenly one day, and was it 2015? It's 2014. One fall eve in 2014, we're doing a show at the theater, and suddenly people start filling out my Facebook page with, when are you guys getting married? And I wrote back, I didn't know we were. And by the time we got home, we had like 200 plus likes and messages to us on our Facebook page. We were busy. We didn't know that the latest Supreme Court ruling affected West Virginia. We've talked about this, never thought that would be a possibility. I mean, I had fantasies of being the world's most acclaimed actor when I was 12 years old, but I did not have the chutzpah to ever believe I could ever marry the man I love. And here we are, and so many wonderful things. And then it kind of feels like 1980 again. 2016. Trump. And the emergence of, if I thought the moral majority was bad, the emergence of the modern day right. There's no love there. I don't care what they say they feel for this country. If you can treat your constituents, want to take away our basic rights, our basic civil rights, take away our identity, take away our job protections, take away my right to visit my husband should he be in the hospital, God forbid. You love this country, but I know for a fact you hate me and every other LGBTQIA person in this country. I don't care if you say you love Israel. How am I supposed to support Israel against people on the right from other faiths who think I should even have basic rights as a human being? I'm not going to stand next to you and fight for Israel. Israel's not their first priority anyway. It's votes to the constituents who think that's going to get them into heaven, saving every person in Israel and turning them into a Christian and saving them from an eternity in hell. And I'm really scared right now because it does feel like 1980. Things are rolling back if you hadn't noticed. DeSantis in Florida. The Texas governor, somebody help me.
Abbott.
Greg Abbott. Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott are from their own states, within their own states, changing the rest of this country. I've read some in-depth political analysis about how once upon a time California kind of set the rhythm for the nation, the fads, the things. I remember when I was a kid, Haight-Ashbury took 8 years to get to Huntington, West Virginia. Okay, no, it's just true. So, California did it. But now Oklahoma, Louisiana, Alabama, West Virginia, all these other states are rushing to pass laws that mirror those in Texas and Florida. So I don't want to end in a downer, but I just want you to be aware of that, because they came after Roe versus Wade. And I don't care what any political, their Supreme Court justices are sitting on the bench right now after directly lying to Congress about what they would do about political decisions that had already been made before they joined the bench. So we have to be aware of what our leaders are doing. As I said, it was started with Roe versus Wade. I know civil rights for the LGBT community are next. They've already started. There'll be more loss of women's rights. And we have people who want us to, spend our income tax on supporting their religious schools. That's that charter mess that we're in now. All for Christianity. But you try to open a Jewish day school in public funds in Huntington, West Virginia, and you see what happens. So anyway, just be vigilant and listen to what politicians are saying. Look up their records. See where they stand on just basic civil rights. Okay? But thank you. This is where we're going to lift you up. James and I came here for the first time. And first off, James knew everybody here. He did through his work on campus. He's Mr. Marshall right now. And he knew lots of people in the congregation. I met a couple of people. I didn't really know anybody. But that's not the point. The point is we came for Kol Nidre service that year. And nobody came up and said, "Who are you?" Nobody said, "Who's this?" They would come up and say, "Welcome. I'm Lynn Mayer. I'm Pauline Kaplan. Welcome." And they just took it. I mean, they just assumed we were together, and we were. And I were treated with love and respect. And I just can't thank everybody here and everybody, in B'nai Shalom congregation for making us family. And you are family, and making this a home for us. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well done.
Good job.
James, rebuttal?
He didn't talk anything about his witty, vivacious, talented, fun-loving, and attractive husband.
Very good. I understand that.
That's next week.
That's
Next week.
That's next week. It is. Thank you, Sam. Yeah. It's good talk. Good talk. I was one of the things that drives me crazy about the youth is that they're young, and I'm not. I'm the old man that sits on the glider on his porch now and shakes his fist at the kids as they run by. I have waited all my life to be able to do that. So, but I was having a chat with 20-something, and we were talking about gay rights and all sorts of things. And the person asked me, "Well, what was I doing? What clubs was I going to when I was 20-something, and what was this and what was that?" I said, "Well, I had a very different experience than you did." "Well, how do you mean? 20-year-old gays?" I'm like, I was watching friends die. The generation that was supposed to mentor me and take me into the gay world and show me the ropes, they were too busy dying to do that. And so my generation and Sam's generation We were like that lost generation. But it did get better. It always gets better. And so what I tell the kids today is, don't run away from the old man. Don't run away from the old woman. Listen to what we have to say, because we've been there. We've been there in many different ways. And while I would not go back to be 20 or my teens again, the one thing that I would go back for is because when I was growing up, I didn't fit in, but there were no role models. We had Liberace, we had Paul Lynn, and that was about it.
Charles Nelson Riley.
Charles Nelson Riley. I am so much like all three of them. Yeah, but it's not until I got to college that I saw people like myself. And yeah, every story is unique and every story is the same. But well done. And what time is it?
I believe it's Kadoosh.
Maurice, you right?
Yes.
Okay, he is right. He is right. Got to double check here.
Laurie's the Kadoosh master.
Yeah, well, he stepped up. He stepped up. It's like a Toastmaster, right? Kadoosh master. All right, a little bit of Kadoosh for Friday night. Not a little bit, a lot of Kadoosh for Friday night. Vayir vayivoker yom hashishi, vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzivam, vayachal Elohim vayom hashvi melachto asher asa, vayishvot vayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa, vayavarech Elohim et yom hashvi'i, vayikadesh oto, pivo shavat Mikol melachto asher bara Elohim la'asod. Savri. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon B'chilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, Hihu yom tefila lamikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, Kivanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, Shabbat kodecha, v'ahava u'ratzon, imchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, v'kadesh Hashabat.
Amen.
It's a good week for grape juice. All right, we'll start to conclude our service. We'll start to end it on page 282. Please remain standing for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tei gdula miyotzei reshit, shelo v'asanu k'goyei ha'raso, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, Shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol ha'olam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishpachavim u'modim, l'iknei melech, malchei ha'mlachim, ha'kadosh baruch, shehu noteh shamayim v'yosner haaretz, Moshe Yekabro Bashamayim Imaho, Ushmi not to so, V'govei Meromi, Eloheinu Eino, Emet Alkeinu Efesulato, כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום בהשמותיו, אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, יארץ מתחת עינו. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו echad. This week we observed the following yard
What am
sites.
I doing?
Matt Colker, Sandy's husband and Jared's father, brother of Lee, son of Lillian and Joseph. Evelyn Friedlander, mother of Robert Davis. Edwin G. Poland, husband of Dorothy Poland and father of Lisa, uncle to Marilyn, Lake, Sydney, Annette, Lois Ann, Rosalind. Stanley S. Gold, married to Matilda, related to Stanley Sklove and Dorothy Goldborough. Glenda B. Harmarcus, Tori Witcher's sister. Linda Muffson Elbaum, Maury's sister. Jean W. Gellin, Ed's mother. Barbara Van der Slake, related to Alan Siegel. David Cohen, Marilyn's husband, father of Jan and Judy. Samuel Schiff, Mary Cantor's father, Rena Stern's grandfather. Jacob Tesser, related to Herb. Jerome Cohen, Barbara Silverstein's father. Miriam Cohen Glick, David's mother, Billy and Barbara's aunt. Agnes May Greenstein, Harry's wife. Irving's mother. Salma Sinter, Gazella's husband. Albert Finkelstein, related to Mimi Tan. Martin Carnes, Joanne Gellin's father. Sylvia Friedman Levine, mother of Bruce Fetter and Maureen Fetter, Heidbreder, Pauline Kaplan's cousin. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they all rest in peace.
Amen.
Warner's Kaddish is found on page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitkedash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayei chom v'yomei chom, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'barach v'olam amei maya. Yitzvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yithalal, shnei, d'kusha, b'richu. Le'elam yinkol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiram v'alma v'yibru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aliyim v'al kol Yisrael, v'yibru amen. Oseh shalom b'rumav, v'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. All right, you may be seated. Shabbat shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbat shalom.
Toda Rabbah and Yeshkoach to Sam for speaking this evening. We have a special Kiddush in honor of Pride and Sam and is speaking. And that was provided by the wonderful, the delightful, the amazing, I don't know how many other adjectives we can get for her, Susan Miller. And next week we have another speaker. We have Andrew Schneider from Fairness, West Virginia. And we have a Kiddush and the Kiddush is, Dennis, what's your daughter's name?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah, last name.
Ketchum.
Lisa Ketchum and Sherry Solacek, thank you.
I had to
You
think.
know, I don't usually forget names, but today I just dropped names all over the place. Who are all of you? No, but Lisa and Sherry are going to be providing the kiddush. So if you're not here this week, you're missing a really, get down here. Susan's kiddushes are not to be missed, but the next week's is going to be great as well. That's all I have to say because I'm going to turn it over to our president, Hoyt.
All right.
He has some announcements. Always he has announcements.
All right.
Ah,
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi, for a wonderful service. Thank you so much, Sam, for sharing. A few announcements. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. services. You get to sleep in tomorrow because if you're like me, you're waking up at 5 a.m. So you don't have to wake up at 6, 7, or 8. You can sleep till 9, maybe 9:30 if you're close. Get down here at 10. It'll be wonderful, okay? Then the next day, you don't get to sleep in as much. Services start at 9 a.m. On Wednesday, we've got the choir with the best choir from coast to coast, the Yiddish choir, 7 p.m. at Zoom. Last but not least, I want to start hyping something that we're going to be doing next year. We are going to start having a Jewish cultural festival, picking up about what Sam talked about. We should be proud and open, and we should be in the community and letting people know that we're here and that people can come here if they're Jewish or wanting to learn what it is to be Jewish. And I want to have a Jewish cultural celebration next spring. If you're interested in assisting me with that, please, send me a DM, shout out, just let me know. Let's do this. I really want to see this happen. Okay, thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
All right. I don't want to delay the oneg anymore because it's going to be a great one. Let's close out our services this evening. Page 321, Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nikra Li'et Nasa B'chefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'Acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Imloch Nora Lehu Haya Lehu Hopeh Lehu Yeh B'Tifara Lehu Echad Ein Sheni Lehamshilo Lehakbira Beli Reishit Beli Tachlit Velo Haos V'Hamisra Vehu Eili V'Chai Goali V'Tzor Hebli V'Yehitzara Vehu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi V'Yomekra V'Yado Avkid Ruchi V'Eti Shan V'Yahira V'Imruchi Geviyati Adonai Li Velo Ira. All right, looks like we have some people saying hello to us on the inner tubes. Let's see on the inner tubes and see who says what. All right, we have Mark Rosen, Shabbat Shalom from the Sunshine State. Oh, whoa. That's DeSantis Estate, where we are currently having a severe thunderstorm. Well, God is angry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be saying that out loud, should I? No, but thank you, Mark. Missing sunny West Virginia. Well, we're missing you too. There's Mom and Cliff. Shabbat Shalom to all from Rabbi's Mom and Cliff. Thank you. From rainy and chilly PA. Not so much here. It's quite nice. Wishing all a peaceful weekend and a great week ahead. Thank you. Taylor McIntyre. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Taylor. Same to you. All right, friends. We got lots going on. Please join us for whatever. Reach out to Hoyt. I think that a Jewish Cultural Festival will absolutely rock this town, which is known as the San Francisco of West Virginia, according to all the people who know. Huntington is a great place. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos, and please be careful out there.
I'm gonna take this thing on the road,